My name is Dominique Muhammad. I'm 29 years old. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and this past year, I've faced and defeated one of the toughest battles that I've ever faced in my life. When I was 20 years old, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 4. I'm gonna bring on fellow cancer survivors to show you guys not only that you can beat any cancer, but that you can beat your zombie, whatever that is in life. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Before we get started, go ahead and follow on all social media platforms. Follow us at Beast vs. Zombie on YouTube and Spotify so that you can see the full videos and stay up to date on new episodes every other week. Today, I have a friend of mine, Matt Ode, personal trainer, life coach, cancer survivor, motivational speaker, all that good stuff here with me today. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dom. I really appreciate it, man, and excited to share my story, message, and everything with your community, man. So excited to get rolling, brother.
All right, let's get to it. So you said stage 4 cancer, and what was that like?
So. Yeah, man. So before all of this, man, I was, like you said, I was a healthy personal trainer, working out every single day, eating the right foods, doing everything possible to, keep yourself healthy. And, not to be egotistical, but I was pretty much the last person you would think to get diagnosed with something like this. And, my dad said it best. Cancer does not discriminate. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how healthy you are. It doesn't matter at what stage of life you are. Cancer can hit you at any point, at any time, and it can hit you as hard as possible too. And for me, brother, I started to notice minor back pains. I was 24 years old, and I thought it was just due to lifting, man. I was like, all right, it's probably just lifting too heavy, whatnot. And being 24 years old, I'm 33 now. So this was 9 years ago almost now, which is crazy to think. But at the time, you're naive. You think you're invincible and all these things, man. And as weeks went by, as months went by, I started to get worse and worse and worse. And I had just started dating my now wife and, soon to be mother. So we're expecting to have a kid here in about a month, which it's crazy. There's so many amazing things happening. But at the time, we had been dating for about 2 months, and I was trying to do all these activities with her and things like that. And I was like, hey, started having these back pains and all this. And she's like, you should probably go get checked up. And I would just keep brushing it off. And one day it got so bad that, completely irrelevant from the back pain, I ended up puking up blood. I ended up getting rushed to the ER. They found out that I had lost 2/3 of the blood circulating in my body, which is equivalent to basically a gunshot wound. And they gave me 6 bags of blood. And at the time, they thought it could have been an ulcer. So they went in, they checked for an ulcer. And the next morning, I'm in the recovery room, feeling a lot better because, of course, they gave me, all this blood. And I'm thinking they fixed whatever the problem was. Well, the doctor comes in. He has this blank stare in his eyes. And he sits down with me. And it's just me and my parents at the time. And looks me in my eyes. And he goes, Matt, I don't know how else to say this, but we found an 11-centimeter tumor in your small intestine. We believe it's cancer, and we have to rush you to the main campus of the Cleveland Clinic immediately. So I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Thankfully, we have the Cleveland Clinic, which is right next to us, which is one of the top hospitals in the country. And from there, they did a ton of tests, and that is when they found out that I had stage 4 testicular cancer. And the weird part is, man, is when you hear testicular cancer, you think, oh, Matt, didn't you have some type of, symptom in your testicle to, symbolize that? And the problem was I didn't. It originated in there, and then it grew throughout my body, and it had spread to my kidney, it had spread to my liver, it had spread to different parts of my body, and that is where they found all of those symptoms. So that's just a shortened story of how I discovered that I had stage 4 cancer, man.
Man, that is insane. And so, how were you feeling? How, like, you're 24 years old. Like, I was 19 when I was diagnosed with cancer, similar to
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
super healthy, super like active, always playing sports, running around with my friends, always in the gym. And for me, it was a surprise. Like, I didn't believe it at first until like the test came back and confirmed it. And I didn't have any real symptoms, like or a moment where it was like, oh, I need to, something like my body's reacting. I just had a swollen lymph node in my neck,
Mm.
and I tried to get it rubbed out at my chiropractor, and he told me to go to the doctor. The doctor actually knew immediately. I was with the urgent care. He knew immediately, but until like I was actually diagnosed through a test to confirm what it was, he wasn't able to tell me. But so, how were you feeling? You're 24. The doctor tells you you have cancer right after you've gone through all these tests. What's going through your head?
Yeah, I'll take one step back. That's wild that you said you went to a chiropractor too, because I actually went to a chiropractor before I got diagnosed. The unfortunate part was my chiropractor didn't know. They always do X-rays, but X-rays can't tell you everything. And he felt something, but he thought it was just like an abdominal strain, and that's where my actual tumor was, and he had no idea. So that's just wild, man. But once I was diagnosed, here's the biggest thing, man. I think especially as a male and us being teenagers and in our young 20s, it is really, really hard sometimes for us to open up our emotions of how we feel, because as men, sometimes we feel that when we fully surrender and open up to how we're feeling, it shows a sign of weakness. And I want to let every man out there or men out there who are listening to this to know that it is the complete opposite. When you are willing to open up, and I'm not saying you have to open up to the world and share what we're doing, but what I'm saying is opening up to my girlfriend Lauren at the time, wife now, and just people that I was feeling comfortable with. That right there would have allowed me to be able to focus on my next steps, which was chemotherapy, surgeries, things like that. But for weeks, I would just hold it in and try to be this strong person, and thinking that it was, a sign of strength, when really all it was every day was like another weight put onto my shoulder every single day, until eventually, dude, like, you just kind of let it all go, and it's almost like this train wreck, because you've held in so many emotions throughout this time. So what I want to try to tell somebody is, the people that you love and trust, do not be afraid to share how you're feeling, because that is what they're there for. They're there to help you. They're there to guide you. They're there to be there for you along this journey. And for me, also another thing that really, really helped me was when I went through chemotherapy. They had a program called the Fourth Angels Mentorship Program, which is where they had an actual cancer survivor that went through the very similar or almost identical cancer that I went through, and went through the same chemo that I went through, and was going through the same surgery that I was going to have to go through as well. And for me to be able to open up to that person, because they knew exactly how I was feeling, man, was that a big deal. And that's what I want to tell people out there is, like, when you're going through something challenging in life, sometimes it's nice to find somebody that is gone through a similar situation as you as well, because that is where you can really dial in and understand what they're truly going through, man, and that's what helped me so much. So being able to open up and not be afraid to share what I was going through was a massive thing, especially as men, because women out there, I'll say this right now, you are so much better at sharing your emotions most of the time than us men are. So that was the biggest thing for me, brother. Like, I was in shock, don't get me wrong. Like, I didn't know what to do because you look at your parents, and I've seen my dad cry one time in his life, and that was when his father passed away. And the second time I saw him crying was when I was diagnosed with cancer, cuz they don't know what to do. They're not in control. They don't know how to help you in that moment. But that is where, you have to be willing to just kind of share with what you're going through, man.
Yeah, I totally feel that. For me, like I was 19, so both my parents, my mom mainly a lot, went through the whole process with me. She would go to all my doctor's appointments and stuff like that. And similar to you, I know it was really tough on my parents. It was right. They see their kid get cancer. The doctors they don't tell you why you get cancer or how you got it. They just tell you that this is what you have based on the test. They diagnose you and this is how we're going to deal with it. And so, like, for example, like my mom's a big problem solver. Like, she's like, how can we fix this? How can I help? What can we do? Right. And there's really nothing she could do other than kind of sit back and watch and let me go through all the treatments. So, definitely really tough on my parents. I can relate to that. And being open to people in your life, that support is like next level. Like, without that, like you said, that's what they're there for. And without that, I always say in like my content, when I'm talking to people, like, life is all about the people. Like, everything I do is for the people that I care about, right? For your wife, your soon to be, mother, your children, for your parents, for your, if you have any siblings, your friends, and that's why you do everything, and that's kind of, the your support system. That's kind of the main reason for everything in life. And so to be able to lean on that is a big deal. How did your other than your parents, how did your friends and family and people that you cared for, how did they take the news and go through this whole process with you?
Yeah, good question, man. They I'll tell you right now, man, another huge vital part of it was my faith. And when it comes to friends and family, man, we had so many prayer groups, brother. Like, everybody was shocked, of course, because like I said before, man, like, I was just the total opposite of a person that you would think get diagnosed with this. But I had so much amazing support, brother, like between friends, between family, and as we dive deeper into this journey of mine, there was a vital part where I did not think I was going to make it. There was a good chance that doctors didn't think I was going to make it, nurses didn't think I was going to make it, and you have my dad, just like probably your mom. My dad is a problem solver, and he needs to know all the information. He dives deep into it. At one point, they actually thought my dad was a doctor because he had done so much research on what's been going on, and it was just wild because he would question things not in like a way of like you're wrong, but just in a way of like in a medical stance. Then you have my mom on the massive faith side where she didn't know the whole medical part, but she knew that like prayer and the power of God can heal you. And as for friends and family, man, like they'd bring me food, they'd bring me, come and visit me, they would do a lot of things, and I think that is so important. And some people, unfortunately, out there, they may not have that massive support system, but I want to let you know, one incredible friend or one incredible family member is just as important as hundreds of people that may be kind of mediocre or, kind of helping and supporting you. All you really need is that one person that is really truly there for you. So don't think you need hundreds and thousands of people always there for you at one point. Just even having that one person, it can make a world of difference. So yeah, man, they were all shocked, but at the end of the day, it really helped me push forward, man. And, like you said too, I truly believe that you are the average of the 5 people that you are surrounding yourself with the most. So if you're surrounding yourself with supportive people who want to do something better with their life, or people who want to help heal you, and you surround yourself with those type of people, your mindset is going to gravitate towards healing. Your mindset is going to gravitate towards bettering yourself and being more positive. So always remember to surround yourself with people that are positive, that have a better vision, that have something, that want to do something greater with their life, or that want to help you along your own journey.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly for sure. The support that I have is off the charts, and I couldn't thank those people enough for all the things they did in my, like, probably some of the toughest times in my life. So okay, let's get into it a little bit deeper. You said there was a moment when you felt like you might not make it. What was that like? What was going on during that time?
Absolutely. So I get diagnosed with stage 4 testicular cancer. Immediately that day, they have a tumor marker, which is called your AFP. And your AFP is basically just a level to know how advanced your testicular cancer is. And for an average male, you want to be below 5. I was over 100,000, so it was like off the charts crazy. So they immediately put me on chemotherapy. I go through 4 months of intense chemotherapy where you lose your hair, you get super thin, you're weak, all these things. And I make it through that, challenge. That was extremely challenging. And I thought, hey, I went through the hardest part, okay, the rest should be kind of a cakewalk. And, next I had this major surgery. It's called an RPL&D surgery. So anybody who goes through testicular cancer that is generally stage 3 or stage 4, they have to go through an RPL&D surgery. I forget the whole length of it. It's just a long word, but basically, they remove the tumor and they remove the rest of the cancer that's in your body after chemotherapy. Once they did that, my tumor was wrapped around what's called your vena cava, which is a central vein that goes to your heart. So, unfortunately, since it was placed in such a tough area, they had to remove that whole entire vena cava. They had to basically clench it up and had to allow other blood to flow through different parts of my veins. And what happened was, my body, when they did that, they ended up doing a 10-hour surgery to remove the cancer, to remove the tumor, to remove the vena cava. My body went into what's called compartment syndrome. My kidney and liver is completely shut down. I ended up going into a 2-week non-induced coma. I was in the ICU for over 40 plus days. I ended up having 5 additional major surgeries during that time. I ended up going into cardiac arrest during the middle of that. I ended up dropping down from 185 pounds to 110 pounds in a matter of around 7 to 8 months. And I had to completely learn to walk again. But to answer your question, the very, I would say, pivotal point was when I was in that 2-week non-induced coma. Doctors had no idea when or if I would wake up. And my mom, she held a prayer service on the very last week 2 day. And she was just like, I need everybody you can to pray for my son. I have no idea when he's going to wake up, when he's going to wake up. And you had, what I was told, you had hundreds of people at our local church praying. They said there was thousands of people around the world. They just had people praying just in different churches and everything. And then you had my wife, who every single day. So Lauren, she was my I call her basically, my angel because she really was. She stayed in that hospital every single day with me, even when I was not awake. And she would come up, she would hold my hand, she'd pray for me to wake up. Well, literally during that prayer service, I'm not even kidding, during that prayer service, she was holding my hand. Hundreds were praying at the church, thousands were praying around the world. That was the second I woke up from my coma. She felt my hand starting to move. She rushed over to the nurses. The nurses at first were like, "There's no way, like this can't be true." They get the surgeon and the doctor to come over, and they finally confirm that I'm starting to wake up. And for me, this was God's way of saying, "Matt, this is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of a brand new chapter I have for your life." And I want to let everybody know, if you are in a rock bottom moment right now, sometimes we need to hit the lowest points of our lives for God to completely shift our life around. And that was his way of saying, "Okay, Matt, now it is time to show you the whole new, you had this version of your life. It is time to show you what this type of version of your life is going to be like." So that was the power of faith, the power of prayer. And I can't explain it. Nobody can explain it. But man, I've asked people, like, what was it like being in that church that day? And they said, I can't even explain it, but there was just a presence that I'd never felt before. And they're like, it was just like, it's just something like there that they could just feel deep down inside. So I want to let people know that the power of prayer, it truly does work. And I'm here today to be a testimony of it.
Man, that story is insane. That's crazier than anything I've ever gone through with cancer. Man, I have no words for that. That's wild. I'm so happy that you made it through and are here today. And yeah, like you said, you're a living testimony of what prayer can do. That's incredible. That's yeah, that's wild.
Thanks.
I yeah, I haven't had anything close to what you've gone through. So now that you've gone through, like, I mean, like you died, you came back to life, like you. How has that changed you? How do you think now that you've gone through something so crazy? What goes through your head? How do you think about life? What's different now?
Yeah, and I want to let everyone know, man, like your rock bottom moment is your rock bottom moment, man. Like, your story is just as important as mine. Like, just because I may have gone through death and back doesn't mean that, everyone has to go through those crazy experiences. I want to let you know that, like, your story might be more impactful for somebody else because they can relate to what you went through more than they can relate to what I went through. So I want to let so many people know that, like, your story is so important, and don't ever underestimate that. And yeah, man. So like after that coma, dude, as I told you before, I went through all of those crazy complications. Still, I literally a week later, I ended up going into cardiac arrest because they went to go take out a catheter that was in my neck. And when they did so, this was like a 0.1% chance of ever happening. I had an arrhythm heartbeat. They had to do 7 minutes of CPR on me, bring me back to life again. And then I went to a 1 week induced coma where they kind of like monitored me and stuff like that. And then once I was out of that, then it was like a recovery process and really learning to heal myself, brother. Like, I think the biggest point was what I learned through all of this is perspective. Dude, in life, man, you can either let's say that life is happening to me or life is happening for me. You can become the victim of your situation, and it's super easy. It's super easy to say, why me? I hate that this is happening to me. This is completely unfair. And yes, of course it's unfair. But you know what? That is life, man. Go look at some people. There are children right now that don't have running water. There are children right now that are born with, they have to go fend for themselves for food. They don't have a family. There are so many people with just as terrible situations. And I'm not saying that any of this is unfair, but it's your choice of whether you become the victim of it or you say, how is this happening for me? And you say, God, or whatever your faith is. But for me, I, as a Christian, I ask God, I ask Jesus, what is it that you are trying to teach me that I can use to not just become a better version of myself, but then I can use it to inspire and help other people, man. And that is the key to life. That is the key to life, is using your absolutely unfair, challenging situations to better your life, to become a better version of yourself, and then inspire other people, man. And that is where you find more happiness. That is where you find more joy. That is where you find more bliss. That is where you find a purpose in your life, is when you use perspective and you use those challenges to really use them as lessons in your life.
I agree with that. And that's the whole reason behind this whole podcast, right? Like I beat cancer for the second time, and it's kind of basically like tragedy to triumph, like taking the negative and turning it into a positive. I always try to use cancer, and I always tell people like cancer is one of the best things that happened to me. And it sounds kind of crazy, but like you say, it gives you perspective, and it taught me a lot about myself. I went through cancer for like 10 years on and off, and yeah, you learn a lot about yourself and what like really matters in your life, right? And being able, I think that's a great mindset that you have about it, because like you said, it's easy to be a victim, and not everybody thinks the way you would think about this. And so I applaud you for that, because it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And it's something that can really make a difference, and I think is very inspirational for you to be able to share your thought process on that. And that, that's the whole reason of this whole podcast. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, man. And I want to let people know I was not like that all the time. There was so many points where I was the victim for a while. There is a grieving point in everything in life, whether it's your own, things that you're going through. Like right now, 3 years ago, I was also diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, just out of nowhere, type 1 diabetes. And I'll tell you right now, this has been a journey for me with type 1 diabetes lately, of learning how to manage things. And this is a disease that will last my whole entire life. And it's been a really big mental battle for me. And I'm still in a grieving process with that. And even with the cancer, like it took me, I'm telling you, I always tell people it took me 2 years to mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically overcome everything that I had went through. I mean, like I told you, I was a shell of myself. I was 110 pounds. I had body image issues. I looked like a skeleton, and I was this healthy, personal trainer before that. And I would look at myself in the mirror and be like, who is this person? And it would just completely drag me down. So don't feel like, you have to just have this mindset shift of like, oh man, I'm not the victim. I'm going to be this best version of myself. No, it takes time to heal. It takes time to go through the process. But through faith, through family, and through your own willpower and your own mental, aspect of what you're going through, that is how you can overcome these situations. You aren't going to be able to face all these battles alone. I will tell you that. Just like we talked about, the power of having support and the power of having people in your life. And there's different stages of having different people in your life too. For me, when I was going through cancer, I needed my family, I needed Lauren, I needed my friends. When I'm in this stage now, where I want to do something amazing with my life, I want to be this motivational speaker that speaks on the greatest of stages, and I want to eventually travel the world and be able to share my message, my story. You need to surround yourself with people who've already done that. And unfortunately, I'm not saying don't use your family and your friends, but they aren't the people that are going to get you to that next level. So every different version of yourself, or every different part of your life, requires having different support systems and different people and different mentorships along the way. So for me, man, all I'm trying to say here is like use your support system, use your faith, because in the beginning of anything you try to do with your life, any step of healing or any step of doing something great with your life, it is such a lonely journey. It is such a lonely journey feeling like it's just you against the world, and you have to use your faith to help push you through those difficult times.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's hard to level up in life, right? And achieve things that you've never done before. It feels very uncomfortable. It's very unknown. It can be fearful. It can give you anxiety. It can be overwhelming. And it's just kind of a bunch of unknown and what ifs. And if you look at it, and then that's a perspective. If you look at it a certain way, it'll feel a certain way. They say, right, the cure to fear is action, right? So you just got to take that next step every time. So I 100% agree with that. And you know what you talk about surrounding yourself with the right kinds of people is extremely important as you continue to progress in your life. And you know, because it rubs off. Whoever you're around is going to rub off regardless if you like it or not. And so if you're around the wrong people, even if you have different intentions or they have great intentions, like the habits, it all rubs off, you know. So I'm big on surrounding yourself with the right people. So let's get in a little bit into, I'm big on like being fit and being physical and being able to stay active through my treatment. You know, you were a fitness trainer before, you lost 70 pounds, you had to relearn how to walk, you're in a coma for, it sounded like 2 weeks, and then another week, 3 weeks. What was it like physically going through this whole process and then recovering and getting back, and where are you at now?
Yeah, man. Whew. I couldn't tell you how hard it was to learn to walk again, man. Like when I say learning to walk again, like taking those very first steps, dude, it was like your whole body was just like, it was like not just your mind but the physical aspect of it. And for me, man, like I have pillars of health, man. Like you have your physical part where you have to get moving, you have to, and it's in every, I learned from ground zero to where I'm at again today, man. Like I know what it's like to start off completely fresh, and I'll start with that is the physical aspect. But you have your physical aspect, you have your nutrition, which I think is absolutely vital. So when it went to come to gaining weight and gaining the strength back, I had to learn that the proper nutrition, it's not just eating food, man. Like when you want to gain strength and you want to have a certain physique, or you want to, build up whatever you've lost, you want to do it in the right way possible. And I always say eating the right foods, and it's not just about what's called your macronutrients, which is your proteins, your fats, and your carbs, but even more importantly is your micronutrients, which is your vitamins and your minerals, meaning the quality of foods that you eat that is going to help your body to, so your immune system, it's going to help strengthen your body, it's going to help with your gut, it's going to help with everything in your body. So you have your nutrition, you have your sleep, making sure that you get proper sleep, man, so vital. You have your hydration, which isn't just drinking water, man. Like it's also getting electrolytes throughout your day. So making sure that you're fueling your body with the proper hydration. And then lastly, man, is we've already really dialed in on it, but it all starts with your mind, bro. Like it all starts with right up here. Because if you don't have the right mindset, man, all it takes is 1 day or 2 days for you to have some type of relapse that is going to cause into weeks and months and even years, and then you just fall into this vicious cycle, man. So starting with the physical part, man, like when I learned to walk again, dude, like when I finally got out of the hospital and I was starting to make some progress, man, like here's what I would do, and I'll tell you step by step. I had a lawn chair in the one part of my driveway, and I had another lawn chair in the other part, and I'd have this walker, and I would literally have Lauren or my dad or my mom, they would stand right next to me. I'd get up from that walker and I'd literally use it to walk all the way to that lawn chair. I'd sit down, get my ass back up, and then I'd walk back to the again. And it was maybe like 20 yards away. And you know what I would do every single day? I'd push that lawn chair a little further back, and I'd push it a little further back. One day I said, you know what? Take the walker away. I'm just gonna use the lawn chairs. So I took the walker away and I did it and I did it. And then one day I said, you know what? Take one of those lawn chairs away. I took the lawn chair away. Next thing I knew, I was out of the driveway. I was onto the sidewalk, and I just started moving a little further and a little further. Brother, it's a game of inches, man. It's a game of inches, and it's every day. You're just making little progress, brick by brick by brick. Next thing you knew, I was walking further, and my confidence grew. So it's consistency plus confidence. And then once you start building confidence, man, like anything is possible, brother, because that confidence can lead to so much progress in life. So I started hitting the weights. And you know how much weight I started using? I grabbed a I think it was like a 2 pound. It was a 2 pound dumbbell. And bro, I was just like cranking out dumbbells. I felt like I was like Arnold that day because I was like, man, I'm getting back in. I'm getting a pump in. I couldn't even lift my hands over my head. Even without weights, I couldn't do it yet. I couldn't even lift my hands over my head. So I was just doing some bicep curls. Next thing you know, I was lifting my hands over the head. Then I was using some resistance bands. And dude, it's those little things, man. So if you're in this journey, don't think you need to just jump right in and do all these crazy things. Dude, I started with such small little things and I just worked my way to it. Next thing you knew, I was maybe eating 600 to 800 calories a day because my stomach, dude, I had 5 surgeries on my stomach. I have a massive wound on my stomach right now that on the fifth and final surgery, they had to do what's called an open wound surgery because my stitches had bursted open before I was actually ready to get out of the hospital. They had to go in for a major surgery, do an open wound where they took out all of my abdominals, and I had this massive scar on my surgery or on my stomach, and I ended up staying in the hospital for an extra like 2 weeks because of it. And dude, I could barely eat anything, man. But eventually, I was slowly able to incorporate more and more and more quality calories, man. I was eating healthy vegetables, eating protein because protein is what's going to help heal a lot of the things in your body. Your protein is really what is your recovery to what you break down when you break down muscle or when you need healing in certain things. Your carbs is going to be your energy source, man. So I was eating quality carbs, such as healthy fruits. I was eating, high fiber carbs, beans and rice and things like that. I was eating healthy fats such as, olive oil, avocado oil, grass-fed butters, and I started to gain that weight back. And as I gained the weight back and the strength back, that's when I could walk further. That's when I could gain that strength back. Sorry, I'm going into detail, but I want to do this just so people know that it's literally, I'm giving you the step-by-step process, man, of what you need to do to just heal yourself, And maybe you aren't in that rock bottom point right there, but maybe you're in that middle part. Just, man, eat quality foods, get moving. Whether it's walking or lifting, I prefer both. I think walking is incredible, man. I think walking is such an amazing thing, not just for your body, but for your mind too, man. Whenever I have anxiety or I have some type of stress in my life and I go outside and I walk, dude, I'm telling you, within 10 minutes, I feel 20 times better. And then, man, I was just trying to get quality sleep and make sure that I was getting the proper hydration in my body. So as I slowly did that, like I told you, man, it took me 2 years to really rebuild myself. After about 2 years, I could then start to focus on where I wanted to go with my life. And I have a little saying that I always tell people: in order to be selfless for yourself, you must first be selfish. You must first be selfish in order to be selfless for others. So if you want to inspire and help others, you have to be selfish for yourself first. You must learn to work on yourself first, and then once you've healed yourself, you can then use it to help others. And that's what I did about 2 years later.
Man, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. I could tell that, like, just going through that, like that, it's like a grind. It's a progression, just like learning anything. And I can relate to that. I had 2 bone marrow transplants, so nothing seems to compare to what you've gone through. But for me, that was like some of the toughest times in my life and through my cancer journey and recovering from that. Just like you said, like going on walking helped me immensely. Like, actually, after my most recent transplant, so I had already had a trip planned to go to Spain. I have a buddy in Spain. He plays basketball, and I was going with another buddy, and we were going to visit him. And we had booked it. I had booked it before my I got sick again, and before my transplant and everything like that. And so I kept it on the books and still went. And I was somewhat recovering still, but I was like, man, I'm still gonna go. I'm at a good place. I'm out of the hospital. I'm through everything. Everything's all good. So I'm still gonna go. And in Europe, you go over there and you walk everywhere, you know. And I remember coming back and feeling like so much stronger. It was also probably partially from the food I was eating there as well. But right, I'm walking around. At this point, I wasn't like fully on like hitting any weights. And while I was on vacation, I wasn't. We weren't working out. The exercise I was doing was walking the whole time. And I remember coming back feeling so sturdy and so strong, and thinking like, wow, this is what it feels like when you just do a lot of walking. You know, this is how much it can help. And up until that point, you know, I had never imagined walking being such a big part of my like progression and my physical activity. And like even now, I have necrosis in my hip, and so my hip doesn't get enough oxygen. It's starting to basically break down. And so eventually they say that I'm going to need a hip replacement. And so I do all my right to stay in shape, and any cardio, it's all like no impact. Like I'm doing the spin bike, I'm doing elliptical, I'm in the pool. I'm still snowboarding, but I'm not like in the park, like jumping off of anything. I'm just like smashing around, just cruising, you know? And walking has been able to help me physically, you know, stay in shape in so many ways. Like I said, I never thought in a million years that walking would be such an important part of my physical program, my routine, and my body and my health. And today it has become a very big point. I walk my dog, like this morning, I walked him for 2 miles. I probably hit like 2 miles with him very consistently throughout the week in the mornings. And then like my girlfriend and I, we go on a hike, which is like just like incline walking, and we'll do like 4 miles at a time or something like that, like super easy, super light, but still like getting those steps in. And that's been a huge part in me staying in shape and physically being healthy as a person. And like you said, for your mind, I've heard things like if you go on a walk and look at things like super far away for an hour, it could cure depression, you know. Walks, even like I also relate it to driving too. I like to drive, but it's like a meditation. It's like a
Yeah.
meditation, you know, you're focused, you're just walking. It's like, and then, right, you get to a certain point and then you got to get back, right? So it's like you have nothing to do but to walk, to really, it helps you really focus on the present and the right now, you know, and what you have going on, and really be in the moment. Like you said, you're outside, you're in nature, you're breathing the air. I live in Vegas, so it's always sunny. You know, I
Mm,
love being in the sun.
I'm jealous.
So
I'm in Cleveland, so it's not always sunny here, but yeah, I'm definitely jealous of that.
yeah, yeah. So love my walks, love my dog. So it also gives me a reason to go walk with my dog. But yeah, walking has been a very integral part of my life recently. Now that I've beat cancer. So I imagine everything you've gone through, you were not like, how do you say it, like a normal or very consistent case of like everything that you've gone through in your treatments with your doctor. So like, how were your doctors feeling going through this, and then how did you feel about the treatment plans that your doctors were giving you, and what was going on, and the problems that were coming up?
Yeah. You look back and you're like, maybe you could have done things differently. And especially when it came to like my big RPL&D surgery, man, like, and I ended up having kidney and liver failure and all these complications. And it's like, I'm here today. So I truly believe God has a purpose for all of us, whether it's on this earth or whether it is in heaven. That's how I look at it. And there's so many things I'll never understand. But, um, in the very beginning when I went to the chemo and all of that, like, there's so many people out there that love to go that think more holistic, which I don't disagree with on some cases. I think there are holistic routes that you could potentially go. For my case, I think I had such intense cancer at that point because I had let it gone so far. Like I was so naive to it that if I would have just went and got checked up on my back pain was, I'd probably have stage 1 cancer. And now, went to stage 4. I didn't question a certain thing because I knew that it was literally life or death. Like I maybe had a month left if I didn't do anything to live. So for me, I didn't question any of that. The cancer did its job. Did it also ruin a lot? I was a cross country runner before this and a personal trainer. So like I stopped cross country running my freshman year of college and I just went straight into lifting after that because it just was like more of a passion of mine. But I still did running and I still did a lot of endurance activities. And now like that chemo, it destroyed my lungs, like to the point where I can't go out and run a mile right now without me feeling like there's just like this thing that's just squeezing I can't even explain it, but like my sternum, and I can barely breathe. So I have to do walking. I can walk as far as I want. I can do like swimming and biking and things like that. And it's very discouraging. But at the end of the day too, I'm just grateful to be alive. And there's things I question, but I also at the end of the day too, the fact that I'm cancer free now for it'll be 8 years here come April, and it's tough, man. Like it's a situation where it's like you are so blessed. Like I am very grateful for the nurses and doctors who saved my life. And do I think that there were some points where we could have maybe done things a little bit differently? Yes. But maybe I can be a case study for somebody else who's going through something that they say, hey, maybe we do this a little bit differently, and we try a different route and we try something different that works. And especially now, dude, holy cow, in the past 9 years, man, or 8 years since 2017, the technology that has like come into this world, man, it's absolutely mind blowing. So, as we advance technology wise, as we advance in the medical field, like I think it's just going to get stronger and stronger and better and better. I'm the type of person that I will do every single thing I can to not have to rely on pharmaceutical drugs, to not have to rely on doctor appointments. So I'm that type of person of let's be preventative of that. But if worse comes to worse and we absolutely need it, that's what it's there for. And I think that's even, the best of the best nurses and the best of the best doctors will tell you the same thing. They'll tell you, we don't want to see you here. We don't want to give you prescriptions. We don't want to give you this stuff. This is the best of the best doctors. Because some of them are just like, oh, you have depression, take this pill. Oh, you have anxiety, take this pill. And you know what it's doing? It's putting a Band-Aid on a surgical wound. And what it's doing is you take this pill and you get tolerant of it. And then next thing you know, they said, oh, you're tolerant of this pill. Let's just upgrade you to the next one. Let's just upgrade you. And then you get into such a horrible cycle that you are on all of these drugs when really, if we could have got to the root problem, which was probably unhealthy eating, not working out, not meditating, not focusing on your actual life and doing some life-changing things, we could have prevented that whole process. But we went strictly to drugs. And there are certain cases where people absolutely do need some medical attention. And I'm not telling you that you shouldn't if there is absolute needs. But some people out there probably didn't need that stuff. And that is where I get to the point where I want to do everything possible first to let's try to do this naturally, and then we can see where the doctors and everything need you to go from there.
Right. I totally agree with that. Funny story, and then I'm gonna take us out. I was getting a bone marrow test, and so you get a bone marrow test. Basically, they drill into your bone and they have to take a sample of your T cells out. And it was the first one I ever got. I've gotten like a handful, but it was the first one I ever got. And I'm like you, like I'm trying to take the least amount of medications as possible. and I just think it's healthier that way for a bunch of different reasons. And so they asked me, do you want any pain medication for the bone marrow test? And my first question was, well, have people done it without pain meds? And they're like, yeah, people have done it without. So I immediately like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need any pain meds. I'll do it without pain medication. The bone marrow test is probably one of the most painful things I've ever done in my life. And okay, I never actually did take any pain meds, honestly, though. I've done it a handful of times. And afterwards, it's not bad. Like, I remember after the first one, like, I went and played basketball afterwards. Like, it's not like some like residual pain or anything. It's just, right, they numb you, they can stick the needle in, all of that good stuff, but they can't not numb your bones, right? So no matter what, you're gonna feel them digging into your bones. And so the first time I was getting a bone marrow test, I had a lady, and she does these all the time. And so she gets into my bones, it's painful. I'm sitting on like my stomach on the table, basically. I'm like breathing extremely hard to like breathe through the pain of her like digging into my bone and then pulling out a sample. And then so she does it, she pulls it out, and she's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't get the sample. We have to do this again.
Oh my.
So then I'm like, okay, wow, that was crazy. Let's do it again. Like, I have to do this. Yeah. I didn't take any pain meds, whatever. So she goes in, she does it again. And like, I can't see it, but she's basically like on top of me, like putting all of her weight into like this screw that she has to drill out. My mom told me about it because she's watching, right? And so She does it a second time. She doesn't get it. So she does it a third time, and she finally gets the sample. I'm like, okay, great. And moving forward, I requested a different doctor, and he used a drill, and it was a lot more seamless. And I never had a doctor have to try and do the sample multiple times, but that was an example of me not wanting any medications and kind of, going through some serious pain. But, that's all we have today for this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Thank you, Matt, for joining and sharing your 2 cents with this. I really appreciate you. Tell everybody where they can find you and get access to your services.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. Yeah, thanks for having me, Dom. Man, such a good conversation, man. I feel like it just flowed so well today, man. And anybody who's watching, you can follow me on Instagram at Matty, MATTY_ODE. You can follow me on Facebook if you are a cancer patient, survivor, or caregiver. I created a group about 3 years ago. We've grown it to 7,500 members in the Facebook group. It's been a life-changing experience just helping people who's been impacted by cancer. You can just follow me on Facebook at just Matt Ode. From there, you can find my Facebook group, which is called Taking Back Your Life from Cancer. That's the Facebook group name. And then TikTok, Matt Ode, YouTube, Matt Ode. And that's about it. You can search me on YouTube as well for different podcasts as well. That's the best way you can find me.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then make sure to follow the podcast on all social media platforms at Beast vs. Zombie. Check out the website. The website was launched a couple weeks ago, BeastvsZombie.com. You can get some merchandise there. Go ahead and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. You can see these full videos, and then make sure you're sharing with your friends and family. Everybody has challenges that they're going through, even if they're not disclosing them to you. Anybody can benefit from these stories that we share and get some inspiration, get some motivation on how to overcome some challenges in their lives, going on big and small. So go ahead and do that. Everybody have a good rest of your weekend. Be a beast, guys. Thanks for tuning in.